Mingling with Mel, or as I like to call it, Mel's Medium, where I mingle with and motivate the masses through me or my true self. So today I am here with my friend Dee. She is a wonderful friend of like what, 4 years? Jesus, we've known each other for 4 years, and you still can stand me.
Of course.
Oh my gosh. So what I'm doing with D, we're gonna come up with some hashtags together of some of the things that I want to kind of focus with my social media or social work channel. So again, as people know, I want to create a transfiguration network, and so that's going to facilitate change or social change, any type of change that you're trying to do within yourself. And so, as a courtesy, I'm not going to show D just because, I want to keep the focus on what we're trying to do as far as with hashtags and as far as using that interpersonal communication that we don't necessarily have to use on our phones or on TVs. So, what I also want to do with my mission is just come up with ways to where counselors or other social workers can benefit from getting that information that's needed. I want them to be able to use that information in order to generate maybe just different talking methods in order to just pursue their work. So I've asked Dee to come up with a couple of hashtags with me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk and we're going to use hashtags because another thing that I want to show is the power that social media has on people. And that could be beneficial, but it can also be a little cruel. All right. So what's up, Dee? How you doing?
Good. I'm feeling good. Really great. Happy to be here
Awesome.
with you today and supporting you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for supporting me.
No problem.
So, one of the things that I kind of want to do with you today is know a little bit more about you because I feel like in 4 years we've known like so much about each other, but also I think that it would be beneficial to kind of show the extent of how we know each other. I feel like with you being a fellow social worker, you're a perfect person for this because you'll definitely demonstrate for both me and my audience how kind of gruesome it is for social workers like us. Because, if you can agree, doesn't social work spill over into our personal lives?
It does.
And how much
Yeah.
so, like in your case?
It really does. I mean, especially say if you had a bad day at work, and they say, oh, don't take work home with you. But sometimes it does happen. Like a client can spit on you, hit you, run out the door, and it's your job to de-escalate. There's a lot of things social work take home.
Yeah.
So
And what do you think is the most like kind of gruesome task that you kind of have to stop before you come home from work? Like, what is something that is hard for you to leave at work?
I would say me to leave at work would be just telling myself and realizing, okay, it was just a bad day. You don't have a bad life. You're still making a difference in people's lives. It's really just not getting discouraged, being so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Because a bad day can make you feel like what am I doing this for? Like,
Yeah.
what's my purpose? Like, is this gonna happen tomorrow? You can get easily discouraged. So I feel like it's just keeping that encouragement up in yourself
Yeah.
and believing like better days are coming. You are making a difference in someone else's life.
Yeah. I like that. And what are some motivating things about work that kind of keep you going? Because I know, like, for me, I struggle a lot with low motivation. So I
Mm-hmm.
know I've told you and other people that, I do struggle from bipolar disorder. That's something that, is pretty tough to kind of swallow, but at the same time, I'm trying to also look at ways in which other people can benefit. So, what do you think is something that keeps you motivated when going to work?
Hmm. What keeps me motivated is I'll say keep showing up.
Yeah.
Keep showing up. Because then you're showing consistency. The other people who are you caring for also see you as like, hey, this somebody that really cares, somebody that checks on me, care for me and my well being. you know, and you also feel fulfillment too. Like, dang, you know, like granted, because I work with people with disabilities right now, so it's like, dang, okay, at least their family can't be here, but at least I'm here.
Right.
You know, I'm here taking care of them, looking after them. So it's just being that person for them. You know, teaching them skills maybe they lack.
Yeah.
Sensory activities for those who has autism, spending quality time with them. It's just being that person that continues to show up. And I feel like that gives me, it's like, dang, okay. You know, sometimes it's the saying, it's like, if it's not you, then who?
Right.
But that's a real thing, because if it's not you, then who? So I feel like that's something that keeps me going.
That's good, because I feel like that's another thing that keeps me, like, the loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's
right, the loyalty, right.
Yeah, hashtag loyalty,
Loyalty,
right?
right?
Yeah, I mean, something that I feel like I love about this city is that the loyalty is strong. So I know I've told you multiple times that I don't have the best times with my family, but I feel like I have a sense of family whenever I come home to Chicago. And so how much of an impact does loyalty have outside of work for you?
Oh my God, a lot. Yeah, especially just like when just reconnecting with families and friends when I'm home, not like when I'm away from work. You know, catching up on topics we talked about, catching up with new topics. Just being that supportive, like loyalty. Yeah, it's everything. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, you letting somebody know like I'm here. You know, like you got my word, you got my support. Yeah, just being there. And I feel like just being there overall is just shows up loyalty. Like, overall.
I mean, that's just one kind of concept that I've grown to love about this place, is because riding for your people, ride for your people, hashtag ride for your people.
Right.
You know, I feel like that's something that I see in you, and that's something that I'll never question, is because, you know, every time that I have a bad time, or every time that, you know, I'm going through something, I can definitely lean on you, you know, to be like, hey, look, you got my back. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's hard for a lot of people that, you know, look at people with mental illnesses, because, you know, they think that we have to kind of be good, have at least one good day. And, you know, people try to recreate that good day, you know, and they don't think about like the pitfalls and, you know, the mountains that you have to climb with already dealing with the disorder, the chemical imbalance, hashtag chemical imbalance.
Chemical imbalance,
Yeah, you know, I feel like, you know, that's something that people often, you know, kind of prejudge when working with somebody to recover, and they think that they have to recreate those good days in order to make them, you know, continuously good. So with that being said, what are some ways that you can kind of recreate those good moments with your clients?
Okay. So like you saying like if they have like bad days, with some ways you can yeah. Okay. So some ways I do is putting a smile on their face. It could be cracking a joke. It could be printing out their favorite picture. It could be letting them wear their favorite outfit. It'd be the little things that people are like, oh, that's little, but it's really big to somebody else. You know, letting you pick out your favorite hat, letting you pick out, you know, your favorite outfit, picking your favorite meal, because we know we do cooking and stuff for them. Hey, what do you want to eat today? You want to bake some cookies? You know, one-on-one quality time is also huge for them too. So that's something I do as well. Just the undivided attention.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that people kind of hashtag attention. I feel like that's something that people kind of underestimate, or when I say underestimate, I mean people think that those little things like that attention, like that loyalty, you know, they think that they have to do something grandiose or, you know, something just
Little
extravagant,
things, little
right?
things.
Yeah, and I feel like something that I kind of rely heavily on is my routine and my schedule. And so when somebody kind of takes something out of the equation, that's when I fall apart, you know?
Yeah, that's a routine. Yep, order and structure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now, could you please share some of your hashtags with me?
Yeah, of course I will. All right, so it's hashtag and then also questions.
Awesome.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, so I got hashtag coping skills, hashtag mental health. So one of my questions, Ramino, is what makes you feel safe? It can be anything from a blanket to a conversation to what makes you feel safe?
I feel like some of the things that make me feel safe is my room. I love my room just because, that's the place where I feel like there's no judgment. I feel like that's the place where I could just kick back on my bed. So if I feel bad or, if I'm feeling like depressed or something, that's where I can curl up in my blanket and I could just be like, hey, look, woo woo, I'm good. And I think another thing that makes me feel safe is when people talk to me. So I actually, as a counselor, I feel like one of the things that I love about doing it is listening. So I feel like I have to talk if people aren't talking, and that when I hear some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth, it's kind of not gruesome, but it's kind of redundant, and I feel like that's my way of getting somebody else to talk because I feel like that's when I'm at my unsafest is when people don't talk about themselves or about, like their jobs or anything like that because that gets me out of my head. Yeah.
I like that. Okay, I like that, and I can see I can see that. I can see that. I like that in you. Another question I had is what do you feel like is the worst stigma on mental health? What do you feel like people just like that people just look down upon or treat like it's like the worst regarding like mental health?
I think that what people don't realize is how much it affects people and like what type of people. So people think that as social workers, we have the best jobs because, we get to talk to people all day. They get to sit on a couch and, we get to just talk to them about anything for an hour or less. And that's not it. As I said before, I struggle with mental illness. And I feel like one of the things that drives me crazy is how much work that I have to do in order to make other people happy. And that, often doesn't make me happy. And so, that makes me lose sleep, at times to where, I'm up for days. Um, that makes me, just feel like I haven't accomplished as much as I wanted to in that day, just because that one person isn't happy. And I feel like now, it's a little better just because I'm, finding better ways to deal with it. But I think that people just don't realize what type of people are affected by mental illness. And they don't realize what, some of these supports that I think, could be tremendous for people. I think that these supports, like, my television network that I want to create, that's going to be something that people can, benefit from and watch and have a great day without having to turn on C-SPAN or turn on, Law and Order SVU. I feel like we need more of a centralized network for stuff like that. And, I kind of hope that that happens for people with all this work.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and something you that stood out to me is just like other people not knowing the much time and effort that goes into behind being a case manager. It's just not all butterflies and lollipops. It's like you crunching in time. You filling in the notes. I mean, catching up on all this documentation that people just don't see, and also just like a lot of people just not knowing exactly what is it and how it affects people, like how it can just interfere with your daily activities. People don't understand, or like some people might look at it all like they crazy, like no, they just need help. They're chemical imbalance.
Right.
No chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is, instead of just looking at a person like, oh, they crazy, but it's just like they just need a balance.
Yeah.
They need support. You can't do any of it without support. So I like that. I like how you touched on that. Another question: what's the best way for you to cook?
I feel like I'm at my best when I'm in the gym. I'm boxing. So I just competed in the Golden Gloves. I'm excited for that.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah, and I know you were there.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being there. And I feel like the reason why, that makes me the safest is because, that's my time where I feel like I'm the strongest. So, I've never, growing up, I've always had that doubt in myself, and I feel like even though people called me the smartest person in the family, and, the person that was able to do things for his brothers and sister, I feel like I still was perceived as weak because I, I wasn't roughhousing like the boys. I wasn't, I was in the house reading a book, you know what I mean? And I didn't even get into my first
I
fight
know wrong
until,
with that.
yeah, I didn't get into my first fight until I was like 13, 14, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So that's
But,
actually good.
and I feel like that's good, when that's good now. I feel like we definitely have progressed. But just growing up like in middle school, like, I used to get bullied. So I used to get shoved into lockers and, punched in the face, and people, they didn't appreciate, Ramino. And I feel like Ramino now, I have more friends that I can lean on for support. I have more family, and stuff like that. But it doesn't make me forget like those dark times. So when people don't talk to me, I feel like that's just me kind of cycling backwards a little bit, and when I stop talking, that's cycling even more. And I feel like going to the gym, reading, staying in my room, doing my content, I feel like those are all ways that makes me feel stronger because these are ways to where I'm rising above, whether it be stigmatization, or other things. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and I just have one final question. What is your definition of living well? Everybody have their own definition. Like when you say I'm living well, what does that mean? Or when somebody else will say I'm living well, what do you like? What does that mean to you?
I feel like living well would just be with not necessarily being less depressed or less anxious or no mental illness, but I feel like living well is being able to find that balance in enough areas to where you can say that you're well. So whether it be spiritual, whether it be religious, and I feel like with those certain areas, hopefully there'll be areas that are throwing you off balance in general, and hopefully you're looking at those areas like that physicality or that spirituality. If you're looking for music, you know what I mean, anything that is throwing you off of that balance, I feel like that needs to be corrected before anything else. I think that enlightenment, that's something that I've always loved to study, based off of Abraham Maslow. And so he had this idea of the pyramid to where the basis was the physiological needs, and then the top was enlightenment. And I feel like there's so many things that are off balance with me, but I'm so grateful to still be able to do what I do every day. And I feel like that's what's keeping me in balance. That's what's reminding me, Ramino, you have to eat. Ramino, you have to, go to the gym if you want to, pursue boxing and everything like that. Because I don't want to show my clients that I'm less than if they're trying to be more than.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that was my last question I had.
Awesome. We're gonna cut it here. That was amazing.
That was nice. I like
Yes,
that.
thank
I
you
like
so.
this. Yes.
Thank you
I like
so
that.
much. We're gonna
No
have more.
problem.
We're gonna
We
have
have
more like
We
this.
have to do more.
Thank you guys so
Thank you for
much.
having me.
And again, my name is Ramino, aka Mino, aka Mel. You can follow D at.
Dory J, 2 Y's, all lowercase U, Instagram.
We'll follow. We'll put that in the chat too. All right. See you guys later.
Thank you.